Hi, I'm Joe Lindsay. Welcome to How's the Form, a podcast for men in, let's say, the second half of life, like myself, over 50.
How's the Form is brought to you by AgeNI and is part of the Good Vibrations Over 50s Men's Health Programme, which is funded by Movember.
My guest this week is probably best known as the godfather of punk in Belfast, having established the Good Vibrations record shop and label. He was responsible for bands including the Undertones, and there's not much about living the rock and roll lifestyle he doesn't know. In fact, he probably wrote the book, so he did. It's Terri Hooley. So Terri, how's the form?
I'm all right. So one foot in the grave and the other one dangling.
You're still this side of the turf, you're all right.
Aye.
Joe, you're actually the first person I ever interviewed. 1992.
Right.
I was working on Across the Line at the time. Went round to interview you in the Crown Bar. You were meeting me there because you were closing the shop up. When I was leaving the office, I had a wee C90 tape. And Mike Geiger said, "You're going to interview Terri?" I said, "Yeah. If you got tape." I said, "I've got a C90. He goes, "Take two more." And I went, "What?" He goes, "Take two." I said, "Oh, that's it." He goes, "No, you'll need them." I ran out of tape. We did have a good day that day. We had a good day that day.
Well, I have no recollection of that.
I don't remember the end of it. The start of it I do. The end of it I really don't. How are you keeping? You're on dialysis at the minute.
It's a bit difficult.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I mean, I've never been as happy. 74 years of age, decided I'm having no more children. They cost you too much money. And well, I don't drink like I used to. I don't do a lot of things that I used to. And I live a very quiet life. And we moved. My Gary Light buddy says that I live and breathe Belfast, but we moved 2 years ago from East Belfast. I never lived in the Beersbridge Road. I always lived near Cypress Avenue. Mm-hmm. So, but we moved 2 years ago, and we've never been as happy. We've got wonderful neighbours. We live in a cul-de-sac, and it's very, very quiet compared to East Belfast. And I don't miss Belfast at all. I had to go up to Belfast one day to meet the deputy editor of Rolling Stone magazine. And the tourist board were going to send a taxi for me, and I went, no. There's a couple of minutes away from a train station, and I'll get the train up. So, and I was going to call in and see Michael and the staff of the Crown Bar.
Yeah.
There's fights outside the bar at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
On a Friday evening.
Yeah.
And then I walked down past the Crown Bar, and I went, I am frightened. I have been in clubs in the Caribbean, a very few white men I've been in Hispanic shebeens in New York, where the police go, "Oh, we're not going down there anywhere near them. They're at it tonight again," and all. But this is my hometown, and I felt frightened that it didn't, a fear that it didn't have during the Troubles, a different kind of fear. And I went, right, and I was going to have a walk round to where the shop used to be in Hard Street and all. And I was meeting him, Xavier, in the Grand Central Hotel, and I'd never been in it. I'd been in the original, I'd been there with the Rolling Stones and all. And I was just glad to be in this quiet space. And then these two Chinese women who were all Gucci and Chanel. And I thought, stayed in the hotel, that they were from Shanghai or something. And I said, "Would you mind if we sat?" And I'm going to welcome to Belfast, but, come, please do, yeah. And I was going, "And where are you from?" "The Antrim Road." And they looked $1 million.
Yeah.
And they were down for a meal. And I was going, right. And then Xavier came down, and then we went upstairs, and then we went to Dean's. And I had a lovely meal in Dean's, and then they got me a taxi home, and I just went. And then I put up on Facebook, what happened to my beautiful city? And then other people were saying, "Oh, every city's become the same."
Yeah.
But we didn't have the heroin problem that they had in Dublin because of the Troubles and stuff. I mean, the drugs that I was taking in the 60s, the drugs that people take nowadays are completely different. So they are.
And how are you feeling yourself health-wise? You feeling good?
I am spiritually happy, and for the first time in my life I've got some money in my bank account. It's just a change. So I'm really happy. I mean, my life had been big highs and bigger lows, and now it's well balanced. Claire keeps me alive. I think she keeps me alive to torture me. And I get my breakfast in bed every morning. There's a hot water bottle in bed at night, and she does everything for me. Hey, after 17,
sounds pretty good.
After 17 years, I was going to trade her in for a younger one, but I think it's better a case of the better. You know?
I think you're doing all right in life.
Well, I think
you're doing all right.
I think what happened, I was agoraphobic before COVID came along, and if we ran out of milk, I wouldn't even, and Claire was at work, I wouldn't go over to the co-op to get a pint of milk and all. I just didn't want to go out. And my friend Laura said to me, agoraphobic my ass. Somebody said, do you want to go to a party? Be out that door quick and you can say good vibrations. But that's not true. And I was agoraphobic, and I just, I don't know whether it was something to do related to troubles or whatever. But then COVID came along, and then Claire told me that she was going to be working from home. I thought, Jesus, we will be killing ourselves after 3 weeks. I'd be strangling her, or she'd be strangling me. But in fact, it was a complete reverse. Where a lot of friends of ours broke up and stuff, COVID brought us closer together. So much so now that when she does go out, and I mean, I miss her. So, and that's good. So I'm really happy, and I'm not used to that. There's been a lot of sadness.
You deserve it. Get used to it.
A lot of pain in my life, and
yeah.
I mean, I lost a lot of people who died very young, and
see, it's something I wanted to talk to you about, Terry. Because
I could just say, I had this emptiness inside me for years, and then a couple of years ago, I woke up one morning, it was all gone. Really, this inside, and since then, everything goes hunky dory, and I can't complain. And I'm glad to be alive. The doctors told me in the '60s that if I didn't stop partying and drinking and doing drugs, I would never live to see 30. And it told me I'd never live to see 40. Told me I'd never live to see at 50. I decided to have another child that would look after me in my old age. Well, that exactly hasn't worked out, because recently I had to phone my ex and say, is the reason why my son doesn't phone me is because I'm white. Because all he does is he makes videos of black rappers and drill artists and all. And I was saying this to an old friend, and he said to me, for God's sake, Terry, in 1970, you're the only person in Belfast had the Last Poets album, and that's regarded as the first rap album. And then put with your reggae discos and going over the border and doing your pirate radio reggae shows and bringing reggae artists over. He's just taking after you. And I went, I'm proud of him.
See, as my mother would say, he didn't like it off the Stones. My mother would say, you know. I mean, what I want to talk to you about is your resilience. You're probably the most resilient person I've ever met. I mean, as you say, you've had these highs and lots of lows. The shop opening, closing, being burnt out of your shop, the label going under, things like that. Your health. I mean, you had serious health problems in your 40s. Was it in your 40s you had your first heart attack? Would it be 46, 47, something like that? What kept you going all those years?
Mental illness. I think I was mad.
I think far from it. You've said that to me before, but I think far from it. I think you're probably the most together person mentally I've met.
I don't know about that. But no, I'm just stupid.
You're far from stupid as well.
The teachers told...
Drop the modesty. Drop the modesty.
The teachers told me at Ashfield Boys Secondary School that I was that thick that I didn't do 11 plus or anything like that. I was that thick that I wouldn't get a job sweeping the streets. And I told them the last thing I'd be doing is sweeping the streets. But I just wanted to do things that were exciting, and you know, I mean, I was a DJ because I couldn't play a musical instrument.
That's why I started. I always wanted to do, but I knew I would never be able to play anything. But I mean, for someone you claim you're stupid or whatever, you're someone who has 2 books written about you, numerous articles, countless articles, a film, a stage musical. For someone who claims you're stupid, I mean, that's a lot of accomplishment in your life. You're far from it.
I keep expecting the backlash to happen, and people go, "He's a fake and a fraud." That's what I call it.
I think you've got this far without backlash. You're going to be all right. We've talked about this before, you and I. This idea, the Northern, I think it's a very Northern Irish thing, imposter syndrome.
Right.
And you suffer from imposter syndrome quite a bit. I'm like, where does that come from?
I don't know. I think it's just being told that you're useless and that you're not. You're not going to fit into society and you're not going to do this. But I never wanted to fit into society anyway. Yeah. I mean, I've never been able to understand that sectarian thing. It's just not the way I was brought up. I was brought up My father was a socialist, and my mother was. When I was brought up as a Sandy Row Methodist, but I'd rather be in West Belfast because that's where all the fun was happening. And a Sunday, when I grew up in East Belfast, we were locking up the swings and all. And the Sunday, nothing was open. Then you go over to West Belfast, and everybody was partying after chapel and all. And you would say to the city, I wanted to be up there partying.
But you were far from stupid, Terry. You were very courageous, opening the record shop at a time, as was known then, Bomb Alley. You know what I mean? At a time when this city was dangerous. And it seemed foolhardy to open a record shop, but you knew what you were doing. You knew there was something that the kids wanted, that the young people of the city needed.
Well, that happened because I worked for Kodak. And one night I came out down to docks, and one night I came out and 3 guys tried to grab me in a car. And I had helped I used to do wee magazines, but a friend of mine had this 1930s working, Michael Hall, anarchist friend, had this 1930s working class poetry that his uncle had written. So we put it out as a magazine, Idle Hours, and I think it was repressed 9 times. But there's people down in the docks used to say to me, give us another 10 copies of that. And they used to sell it for me down there, and these 2 guys jumped in and saved my life. So I did, and I ran for my life. Got away and ran for my life. I decided, well, if they're going to kill me, I might as well do something that I really want to do, and that was open up a record shop. But at that time, in work, a guy who had showed me an ad in exchange of more than 1,000 singles for 40 quid. And I sent away from him, and what I found was fantastic. And I knew a bit about music, and there was a lot of records in there. It's not the hits that are valuable, it's the ones that weren't hits. And then I went over to see Ronnie Spector of the Ronettes, and so I had Johnny and the Asprey Jukes in London, and I brought over a pile to the Vintage Record Store in London, and they pulled out, these were cost me 4p each, and they pulled out about 11 and went, we'll give you 110 quid for those.
Wow.
This is what about the list is. We couldn't afford them. We haven't enough money in this shop at the moment. And I said, will you do an exchange? No. So I got my money back very quickly, and then sent away for more singles, and then sent away for albums and started selling them in my back bedroom, and then we set up the record shop. And we didn't know how it went, and it was difficult enough at the time, but I mean, eventually worked, so it did. And then I went to see... because I grew up in a city that was wonderful and colourful, and we had 80 clubs in and around Belfast, from small church halls to big ballrooms like the Plaza Ballroom, which used to open at lunchtime on a Wednesday and a Friday and be packed. And I had a revolving stage and bands playing. And I used to mitch off school on a Friday with these older girls. I'd tell them I had to go to Royal Hospital to see about my glass eye. I go to a lunchtime session to the Plaza, and just and the music, everything was just brilliant. The girls were wonderful, and everything was just wonderful. And you know, so I grew up in that environment. I made a lot of really great bands, but we didn't have an effective music industry. I mean, you had to go to London to really make it like them and stuff. But and then the Troubles came, and the whole life was sucked out of my city, and things were a lot difficult. And we tried. There was 40 of us called the Tribe, and we used to put on wee gigs. And I ran the Middle Earth Club and what used to be Sammy Houston's Jazz Club. We were all hippies, and we did our own magazines and stuff. And we tried to keep things normal, but things weren't normal. And I think I ended up being one of the very few left in Belfast. Everybody got out and left, and a lot of musicians got out and left, and people traditionally who had been emigrated to Canada, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, people went. That's where people went.
But again, it's another beautiful.
And I felt if I left,
Belfast.
I would be a traitor. You know, we've got to try and keep some normality.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody once asked me, how did I keep my sanity through it? And I went, what sanity? I think the whole country was having a nervous breakdown. But I couldn't believe how quickly, it was a real shock to me, how quickly the city became divided. It had the biggest displacement of population since the Second War anywhere in Europe. And it was just Protestants moving to Protestant areas and Catholics moving to Catholic areas. And the hatred, as much had been under the surface, I could never understand that. I was brought up to believe that we're all a family of man, that I've got a sister in Melbourne, a brother in Paris, and the whole wide world is mum and dad to me, and we're here to help each other, you know. And the viciousness and the hatred.
So is that why punk appealed to you so much? The energy of it and the unification of that genre? Is that what appealed to you so much?
What appealed to me was I didn't really want to go down to see Rudi and The Outcast, and I hated The Outcast with a passion. So I did.
Sorry, Greg.
And it's still a mystery to me to this day how I became their manager, their record label, and they became the closest band to me on the label.
Yeah.
And Greg said to me recently, says to me, "You and I have never had a row." I went,
short memory.
You know, and I want to thank you for everything because you never let me down, you know. But they were the closest band, and I hated them with a passion. Rudi with a band I thought were brilliant, and Rudi reminded me of some of the 60s bands, and I think they did Question Mark and the Mysterious 96 Tears, and I loved all the garage bands and all that American music. And so I said to Rudi, "Would you like to make a record?" But what you don't see in the film was you see the police coming in, and then they left, but they brought in the UDR and they broke up the gig. But those kids had no fear of the police. We were brought up to fear the police and all, and they didn't have any fear at all. And I went, "This is anarchy." I mean, I think one kid jumped up and pulled out a fluorescent tube lamp and threw it at them. And I went, "This is for me. This is what I've waited for all my life." And it just seemed to be everything that I'd done, like demonstrations against the war in Vietnam. I was the first person to be arrested on the 1965 Civil Disobedience Act, protesting against the war in Vietnam and doing me underground magazines and all. That just seemed that everything that I did in my life, and running folk clubs and blues clubs and putting on blues concert with Dougie Knight and all, everything I'd done in my life was just waiting for punk to come along.
Yeah.
And then I was able to put it all out, writing a press release for anti-Vietnam, and then be able to write a press release for know how to send out a press release for a punk band. You know, I didn't see much difference.
Yeah.
But I embraced punk, and I just loved the whole spirit and anarchy of punk. And you know, if you got 10 punks in Belfast and asked them about punk in Belfast in 1970, you get 10 different stories, and every one of them would be valid.
Yeah.
Good Vibrations is just one of those. There's a million stories in a naked city, but that's one of them. But I really became a convert for punk, so I did. But I'm still regard myself as an old hippie and a hippie anarchist, as I call myself. And the reason why I call myself a hippie anarchist is because in Northern Ireland you have to be pigeonholed. Protestant, Catholic, dissenter, blah, 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 blah. They don't have a box for hippie anarchists. And I want to be in that hippie anarchist box because I don't want to be labelled as a Protestant, Catholic or whatever.
Let's take a short break there and head over to the doctor's surgery for a reminder about some ways we can be a little bit healthier.
I'm Dr. Alan Stout and I'm a GP. If I can share one thing, it's this. I see far too many men coming in too late. If men would just get checked out by a doctor a bit sooner, I know for sure that lives could be saved and men's health improved. So I'm going to share some of the things men should look out for and why they matter, and most importantly, what to do about them. Today I'm going to focus on skin cancer, and believe it or not, it's the most common cancer in Northern Ireland, and more men are affected by it than women. Skin cancer isn't just about your annual summer holiday. One of the reasons why more men are affected by skin cancer is because more men tend to work outdoors, farming, in construction, or on sites. At this stage in life, you may think a changing mole is just part of the natural aging process. But if it's a melanoma, or you might hear it called a malignant melanoma, this type of skin cancer can spread cancer cells to other areas of the body. It can be the starting point for other cancers. Malignant melanoma is treatable if it's picked up early, so don't wait to get checked out. There's another type of skin cancer called non-melanoma skin cancer. It's more common and usually less serious, but it is also important to get checked and treated because it can spread, and again get it checked and treated early. To look after your skin, check regularly for any unusual changes. Think ABCD, so asymmetry, border, colour and diameter. Pay attention to new or changing skin growths, sores that don't heal, changes in shape and any unusual patches or discoloration. If you notice something, take a photo of it on your phone so you can keep an eye on it over time. And let's talk about the sun. Here in Northern Ireland, many of us ignore advice on sun protection because we think it's not sunny enough most of the time. When the sun finally does come out, we forget all of the rules. So do take more care to protect your skin from the sun every single day. Remember the old campaign message, slip, slop, slap. So slip on a shirt to keep your shoulders and back covered, slop on the sun cream to any exposed skin if you're outdoors at home from spring to autumn, and always if you're on holiday. And finally, slap on a hat to protect your face and your head, where many male skin cancers are detected. The final thing I want to stress is just how dangerous sunbeds and tanning booths are. There's currently a move to have these banned altogether. That should tell you all you need to know. So if you notice any changes to your skin, get an appointment to see your GP without any delay.
AGNI's Good Vibrations programme is for men over 50. If you or someone you know could use some advice or support on health, well-being or mental health, there's lots more information online at agni.org/iConnect. That's letter I, CONNECT. Or visit agni.org/good vibrations to sign up for monthly emails with expert tips and information. Remember, it's okay not to feel okay. The AGNI Good Vibrations team are here with help and support.
And during that period, though, your health was very much up and down, phically and mentally. Your health was up and down.
My health
but
had
you're
never
still
been
here. You're
good.
75 in a few weeks.
I can't believe I have to pinch myself. I mean, as there are
I don't
days-
think you see. I think when you were 50, when I first met you, were 50, right? I don't think if I had said to you, you're going to make 75, you probably would have bet against
No,
me.
I never thought I would make 50. I mean, for God's sake, for 20 years I had down in the Rutherford barn my annual 40th birthday.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I had a friend whose girlfriend worked in Good Vibrations, and she went home to him one night and said, I never realised that you were older than Terry. He says, what are you talking about? Says, I heard him talk about Terry's annual 40th birthday. He says, you must be the only person in Belfast that
believes
does know Terry has been having an annual 40th birthday party for years.
I mean, as you said, you suffered things. You lost a lot of friends because you made a lot of friends in your life. That's part of your legacy.
That was the great thing was, especially during the Troubles, I had a lot of great friends. I had a lot of great friends on both sides, and a lot of great friends who looked after me and guarded my back and stuff. I mean, I remember one time at the UVF came and asked me would I edit the wee magazine, and I went, lads, see if I was the editor magazine, because it'd all be dead in 6 months. He said, but we want to change and all. And they were all dead within the year, those guys, so they were. I had room 5A, 53 High Street, which I hired from the World Socialist Party, who were 4 people in Northern Ireland. And I used to use it for anti-war Vietnam War meetings and CND meetings, but also I ran a folk club in it. And then I got them thrown out on a Sunday night because they weren't allowed to have any entertainment in Belfast. And then I ran a blues club with Dougie Night, and then the police closed that down. But things were difficult to look back. I said, well, it'll never be as bad as that.
Yeah.
How I felt at that time. Because I'd lost my first girlfriend in a car accident coming back from a party in Bangor, which I didn't go to because I was out painting anti-Vietnam War slogans around Belfast.
You love life and people.
Well,
I think everything you ever did, you underwrite this as being like, oh, it was stupidity, it was all this stuff. I think everything you did came from a very deep well of love.
And a lot of older girls and stuff, a lot of older people who, you know, when I was young, I was hanging around with guys out of bands and all, and they're very entertaining. Still great friends these days. And, you know, they were more interested in the sort of people who were marching.
What advice would you give people coming up now, kids in their 20s?
Don't worry, be happy. because Mea Baba loves you. He's my spiritual leader. One time everybody joined in the 60s. Everybody was joining the Divine Light Mission, Guru Maharaji and all. And then I got this. Mea Baba was another Indian mystic, and there was this brilliant photograph of him, and I got it on a T-shirt. Don't worry, be happy. Mea Baba loves you. And I got banned from the ashram. The Divine Light movement for being a bad influence and stuff.
I was going to say, through all this though, all you brought to the table was love. People were bringing so much hate. Everything you did came from love, whether it was the music, whether it was your activism, everything came from the best of places. Because you weren't built like that. You weren't built like the rest of them. You were different.
No, I was glad my father was English. My father met my mother during the war. My grandfather had a big house in Botanic Avenue, Cameron Street, and he would let out rooms. And he asked my mum to go down the post office in Shaftesbury Square and put an ad in the Belfast Telegraph to say there was a room to let. And my mother and my auntie, they met these two soldiers, and she met my dad. And I, years later, said, why did you stick him for so many years? And my mum says, well, he wrote very romantic letters during the war, and his sex life was good. Now, that coming from my mother, who was like Maggie Thatcher.
Yeah.
You know. I did that one night. I took this liquid acid, and I'd never taken liquid acid before in my life. I didn't even know what it was. So then I walked home, and I stole flowers out of my next door neighbour's garden, because my father was a fantastic gardener, but he wouldn't grow me any marijuana. He said, I used to smoke that, and then you grow out of it. And I wrote my mum a letter, put him in a vase, and wrote my mum a letter saying, you're not my mother at all, you're my best friend. But then 3:30 in the morning, I woke her up, and my dad was away at a Labour and Trade Union conference in England. And I said to my mother, I'm having a very heavy trip here in LSD. She says, I'll get up and make you a cup of tea. And we sat up all night. It was the best conversation I ever had with her. And we talked about everything. But I used to be able to talk to my mum about anything.
Yeah.
My mum said to me about a certain girlfriend that I went out with, and my mum says, what was that all about? I says, it was just pure animal lust. I says, we would have done it at a bus stop. And then she was going, well, I suppose I should have told you about the birds and the bees, but I thought you would have learned that as well. But it was the breast coming. But I was able to talk to my mother about, and I'm really proud my mother did this. My grandfather, big in the Orange Order, didn't want my mother to marry my dad. But she married him even on the day of the wedding, tried to talk her out of it. And then she went to England, and my father was voted in as the local Labour candidate in council elections. I probably would have ended up as a local MP. But my mum was fair. She missed the big family. It was a big family. Everybody round the piano on a Friday or Saturday night singing songs and stuff, all that. And she missed all that. And it was my father would come home from work and there'd be people lining up outside the house, looking housing and looking this and looking something of him. And she just decided the hell with it after a few years to come back home to where she belonged. And I'm really proud of her that she did that, because women didn't do that. Oh, we'll stick together for the sake of kids. And then I was born in Belfast in my grandfather's house. Terence Wilfred Hooley. Born on the 23rd December 1948, and there were 3 stars in the heavens above the house that I was born in. Believe that, you'll believe that.
Terry, I'm very glad to see you're still here to celebrate your 75th.
I go to bed every night. I just say I go to bed every night happy. And I say my mantra, and my mantra comes from the magic roundabout. Be content with what you've got, because what you've got is quite a lot. And I go to bed happy, and I'm alive every night. So I have. You never know. I might even live to 76.
Well, Terry, it's a pleasure. Come here.
And you. So it's good to see you.
Always. Before we finish off today, let's take a minute or two to pause with Owen O'Kane, who has some great advice on how we can be kind to our mind.
My name is Owen O'Kane. I'm a Sunday Times best-selling author, psychotherapist and former NHS lead for mental health. And today I'm going to be talking about a subject that we don't talk about enough, and that's grief. Now, for anyone listening who is grieving or has gone through a period of grief, you will know how difficult it is. And some days there isn't any rhyme or reason to how you should be feeling or how you might be feeling. There might be moments when you're sad, there might be moments when you're overwhelmed, there might be moments when you're incredibly angry, and then you might even have moments when you feel a little bit of happiness again, so it can be incredibly confusing. Now, the important thing about grief is that I don't feel that there's any normal way to grieve. I think everyone finds their own way through. However, there may be periods when you feel that you might get stuck and things do feel like they're too much, and that's when I'd encourage you then to reach out and seek out help and support, because what we know is that when you talk about your loss and when you talk about your grief, you're processing, and that will help you move through. I really don't believe that you get over grief. I really don't like that expression. We don't get over losing the people we love, but we learn to move through and we learn to accommodate the loss. And that often is just about getting the right support, the right help, and realising that what you're going through is normal. Someone very wise once said that the price we pay for love is grief, and I believe that to be true. But you don't need to do it on your own. So always reach out, always get support, and remember, go easy on yourself. It's very easy for us to give ourselves a hard time when we're grieving. Go easy on yourself and try not to judge it too harshly.
AgeNI are the local experts on later life. If you or someone you know is struggling to navigate the challenges of life after 50 and need information or advice on benefit entitlements, housing or care for a loved one, call the AgeNI advice line in confidence 9 to 5, Monday to Friday on 0808 808 75 75.
That's it for this episode of How's the Form. Hope you'll join us next time.
How's the Forum is brought to you by AgeNI and is part of the Good Vibrations Over 50s Men's Health Programme, which is funded by Movember.